Hey, you already know who it is, Hammer fan. Welcome back to HammeredHead. We're going back into the Legacy Collection today to look at IG Lancer Droid from the original Clone Wars cartoon. Legacy Collection is highly based, and I expect this guy to be no different. Just inside the box, he looks really cool. I like that pose. You really get to see his flexibility, but it's also kind of funny looking with the blasters pointing out to either side. But he's still menacing, and the lance going diagonally across is a good look. And that image they went with is perfect. It looks really creepy with all those glowing red eyes and the spiky shoulders. So I like that look there. It's a Build-A-Droid, so we get a little droid piece. IG Lancer Droid. IG Lancer droids are deployed by the Intergalactic Banking Clan on the planet Munilist to serve as a homeworld security force. Dirge leads an army of IG Lancers into battle against Obi-Wan Kenobi and his clone troopers during the Clone Wars. So if you saw the Dirge with speeder bike review I did, that's what that's in reference to. Later in this video, I'll bring that speeder bike out and see if we can fit this guy on it and see if he looks any good. So I'm pretty excited about that. Here's the droid part for R4J1. Maybe we'll be able to complete that someday. Let's get a closer look at him. Okay, so we got him out of the box. So far, he looks pretty cool. I do want to get a couple negatives out of the way right up front. First off, the articulation, which we'll look at later, is pretty much all just swivel. And the way, I don't know if it was the way he was packaged or the sculpt, but his right leg is kind of crooked here. So he just stands a little lopsided like he's limping around. It's annoying to set him up, and I think it looks a little goofy. And then secondly, which I actually think is a worse deal, is his hands do not grip the blasters very well. It's very loose, the small one especially, but the big one too. He just cannot grab them. They keep falling out or flopping around. So that actually really pisses me off. But in terms of sculpt and paint, the figure looks amazing. The head sculpt is really nice. He has a ton of different eyes going all the way around and different like knobs sticking out of his head. So that looks great. I really like his spiked shoulders. That's like a fun, unique look on this guy. It kind of sets him apart from the other IG droids. But then all the way around, there are a ton of different panels and tubes and cables. So the sculpting on him is really detailed. Just every time you look at him, you notice a different, mechanical piece or something. And the same goes for the arms. The grip isn't great, but his hands do look good. And the arms have, again, really intricate detailing on them. And that goes all the way down to the legs, too. With different cables and tubes and plates. So as lanky as he is, he does have really fine detailing on the sculpt. And then the feet are like these clompy things, which I always really like. I do want to compare him with IG-11. So IG-11 obviously has superior articulation. He's also a little bit more colorful. There are a few different shades and colors going on in his like body paint, whereas the IG Lancer is pretty much all the same shade of silver, barring a few bits and pieces here of the tech that like kind of sticks out of him. But his head does have like much more pronounced and red eyes, so he looks a little creepier, and the sculpts are different. So obviously this guy's got the shoulder spikes, but they have different cables and panels and other crap attached to them, so they do actually look very different. But close enough that you can tell they're both IG droids. For the most part, I do like the accessories. The Build-A-Droid part is fun. We get the actual body of the astromech, so it's a pretty sizable piece. Obviously it would look better complete, but I like the coloring and detailing on them. And then the blasters are standard sculpts, but the paint job is really good. It's like a more metallic-y silver than on a lot of the guys we get. The longer rifle that I received was pretty bent. I'm guessing just from the way it was packaged and that it's been so long in there. So I'm sure I can bend it back into place. But again, just the sort of the gunmetal paint is nice. And then the primary weapon is his lance, which looks really good. All the way down, there's a nice wrapping on the handle. And then sort of like these metallic spots all the way along the actual, lance part of it. And then it's more of a gold paint on the tip. It does have this clip, which I believe can go on the rifle for him to hold. Let's test it out. Yeah, so it fits on there really well, but he has such a loose grip on the rifle, and the thing is so heavy he can't really hold it up. But it does work, technically. One more thing about the lance, it does actually detach from the handle. So if for whatever reason you needed to do that to store it somewhere, or maybe you can stick that on the end of something else for another character to hold or something, you have that option. Like I mentioned in the beginning, the articulation is all swivel, but he does have a lot of points of it. So the head obviously goes all the way around. Then he's got shoulders. The arms also rotate this way on the shoulder. He's got the elbow. The top half of his torso does swivel, but it's connected by this cable to sort of this other tech that goes all the way down, so it kind of impedes his movement. He can't really go very far unless you try to move this out of the way. But then he's got hips. The thighs go all the way around. Knees. And feet. So he's got a pretty solid range of motion, but again, that issue with his leg kind of being bent out of shape is a bit of an annoyance. And finally, I do want to see how he looks on Dirge's speeder bike. I'm actually pretty excited about this to see if he can really fit in with Dirge's forces. So he sits there pretty decently. He can grab the handlebars. Not very tightly, but he gets in there. And let's try to fit the lance on the front. No. Okay, so we can't clip the lance in the same place, but we can do that rifle attachment gimmick. And maybe with the handlebar support, he can hold it up well enough. Not really. Well, you get the idea. Okay, so he can do it, just can't really hold the lance. But he sits on it very well. I think that looks decent, barring the weapon. Ouch. That's all I got on the IG Lancer droid. He does suffer from a few pretty key issues. Notably, he can't really hold anything, and his articulation and general posture makes him a little tough to pose. But I do really like the sculpt and the detailing. He looks just really cool, really creepy, and like pretty badass, and just like very unique for an IG droid. So if you just want to like put him in a lineup of separatist forces, he's pretty solid. Again, you're not going to get him in anything super crazy pose-wise, but just standing there like on a shelf with other droids, definitely worth the grab. But let me know what you think in the comments. As always, thank you to my Patreon subscribers. Be sure to follow on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook. Check out the Patreon page, and don't forget, stay hammered.